Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of our 2026 club previews. I am joined by none other than the man himself, Sam from Wobble and Jaw Sports. How are we, mate?
I'm doing really well. How can I not be feeling good talking about the team that we're going to be talking about this afternoon, Dor?
Yes, Sam. As you can see on the right-hand side, we are talking about Sam's North Queensland Cowboys in episode 11 of this 2026 club season preview series. Mate, let's start as we always do, my good sir, and let's start with the 2025 campaign for your North Queensland Cowboys, my friend. And we're going to get into some really extensive thoughts, man, because I'm going to sort of take a bit of a back seat in this podcast, my friend, and let you sort of drive the bus and really let your thoughts be known on how you thought your Cowboys went throughout this podcast in season 2025, and then also heavily get your thoughts in what you're thinking for the 2026 season, mate. So in season 2025 for the Cowboys, your men finished in 12th position, Sam, 25 points. Before I think we go into any of the like the whole season as a whole, I think we should just touch on I think a big thing from the season. And as you could see, the Cowboys could certainly score points in season 2025. Scoring the points was not an issue. As you can see here, they've got in from 10th to 17th, they've got the second best points for behind Manly. So scoring points was not a problem for the Cowboys. They even scored more points than a top 8 side in the New Zealand Warriors, with they only scoring 517 and the Cowboys scoring 538. But mate, the problem was the defense leaked 684 points, which I believe that is that is the second most behind the Gold Coast Titans with 719. So yeah, the defense, Sammy, let us know what your thoughts were on the defense from your men in season 2025.
So a couple of years ago, the New Zealand Warriors defensive coach came over and he had a sparkling 2023 campaign. And so there was an air of excitement about how the Cowboys could go from 2024 onwards, hoping to resurrect some of that 2022 defensive form. But we've only seen it maybe a handful of times across his 2 years. And therefore, the defensive coach was axed over the off season, and a brand new coaching system has been brought in. One of those would be the old St. Helens coach that's come in. I can't remember his name at this point in time, but he's come in, and it's just a brand new assistant coaching structure up at North Queensland. So no, very disappointing, and it was the worst defensive effort since the year 2021. In 2021, the North Queensland Cowboys leaked over 740 points. So 2025 was the second worst coaching or defensive coaching result for Todd Payton in his tenure so far.
Paul Wellens, Sam,
thank you.
Is the name of the coach that the Cowboys have got on board in season 2026. All right, I'm going to continue. I'm going to go through this, and then we're going to talk about where you thought. I can tell you where it is, but I'll save my thoughts. I'll save my thoughts until the end. Let's go through the whole season as a whole, and then let's talk on some talking points where it potentially went wrong. So round 1, it didn't get off to the best of start. Sam went down to Manly 42 points to 12. In round 2, they then went down to Cronulla 36 points to 12. They then went down to Brisbane 26 points to 16. So 0 from 3. You fire away, Sam.
We are 3 weeks into the season 2025, and this was the first game against the Brisbane Broncos where they actually showed some signs of a heartbeat.
Yeah, considering from the first 2 weeks, giving up 42 points and 36 points respectively in both games, and then showed a lot of fight, Sam, to only go down by 10 points by the eventual to the eventual champions. Round 4 came around, 30-20 win over the minor premiers, the Raiders. That is a huge step in the right direction, Sam, after a really tough first 3 weeks. They then took down the Panthers 22 points to 18 in round 5. So after a tough first 3 weeks, to be able to get back-to-back wins there, and it continues in round 6 with a good win against the Bunnies, 24 points to 16. And look, if you think about it, Sam, if you look at where they finished in 2025, their final standings, they probably should have done a better job against Manly, potentially won that game. But the Cowboys have gone ahead and won 2 games that, considering where they finished, and even before the season, the hype around these other 2 teams, they've got 2 scalps there from against really good opposition, but then lost by a huge scoreline to an opposition that they should have beaten, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. So going into 2025, we looked at the draw. I looked at the draw and then saw that our first bye was in round 7. If you were to tell me that we were going to go into round number 7 at 50%, would have taken it. Absolutely would have taken it. But gee whiz, gee whiz, it was a remarkable comeback just to make it 50%, because it just looked so dire inside the first fortnight to 3 weeks of the 2025 campaign. And that victory against the Penrith Panthers was one of the games of 2025. We called that contest, and it was an absolute belter. But what really pissed me off about the media and even some content creators out there, they said, "Oh yeah, but Penrith, they went down and they beat a Panthers side that were down at the bottom of the ladder. They weren't playing good footy. It's round 5 and the Cowboys just beat the 4-time premiers down in Sydney. Like, can we get some freaking credit for that victory? Fair dinkum. And we've also been the bogeys side for Penrith over the past couple of years, but I digress. So, if you told me at the start of 2025 that we were going to be 50% going into our first bye into round 7, I would have taken it every single week. But that first couple of weeks definitely put some grey hairs on top of me friggin' chin.
I think just something I've just had a look at, and people would have realized when you were talking there, as I was flicking through the tabs and having a look at team list, Sam, the Cowboys started the 2025 campaign with Tom Duffy getting the start there in the halves with Tom Did. And come round 3, when you said that they started to show some resilience, it was round 3 was where they injected Jake Clifford into the lineup.
Big red dog. Yes.
Yes. Clifford was injected into the lineup in round 3 against the Broncos. And look, while they didn't get the result like we alluded to before, it was a much better effort from the Cowboys in that round 3 clash. And Clifford has remained in the halves throughout this run, this 3-game win streak that we just touched on. So round 7, we come into the bye, like you alluded to, Sam, and the Cowboys look, they went 0 from 3 into 3 from 6. So 50%, like you alluded to, my friend. And then they came out and ended the Gold Coast Titans season, 50 points to 18 against the Titans. That actually, no disrespect, sorry, Titans fans, but that it might have already ended before then. I can't actually remember. But nonetheless, 50 points for the Cowboys. And just as we alluded to before, Sam, the Cowboys could score points in 2025. And they absolutely did that in spades on the Gold Coast. An absolute majestic performance from the Cowboys at home against the Titans. Round 9 came about, and believe this is Magic Round, if I'm correct, against the New Zealand Warriors. Went down in an absolute thriller. Sam and I were there front row for that one, and that was one of the games of Magic Round. A real belter there from the Cowboys. I'm trying to think if my memory was right. Yes, it was right. The Cowboys were down and they came back with a stunning second half performance. And just unfortunately, I remember there was a couple of mistakes there at the back end, and God, the weather was awful Sam and I got absolutely drenched. I'll never forget that walk after that Saturday Magic Round. I was absolutely freezing, but geez, that Cowboys performance, Sam, even though that they went down, they showed a hell of a lot of fight in Magic Round, and certainly warmed me up a little bit with the type of football that they played in those conditions, mate.
1,000%. 1,000%, man. They showed a lot of ticker, and they lost that game in the first half, really. They let the Warriors go out to a big lead. Yes, the Cowboys hit back a couple of times, but then there was that intercept that Mr. Clifford threw that got the Warriors up just a little bit more at halftime. But you're right, that game was high quality considering the conditions.
But you look at it here, Sam, like I'm looking at here. So this is the ladder, right, at round 9. So I believe this was before the game. So the Warriors top 4 side, like they were flying 6-2. So for your, Cowboys to put that effort up against a top quality side, I think speaks volumes of the change that happened in that season.
That was when Luke Metcalf was at the peak of his powers a few weeks before he got struck down by injury.
Yeah. So then came about where the Cowboys got to odd numbers. A thrilling draw where both sides forgot how to kick field goals. 30 all against the Panthers. But look, considering, again, the opposition, Sam, the Panthers, though, yeah, their 2025 was very weird. But they were a lot better side than, what they were, where they were sitting on the ladder. But to consider you've gone basically 1.5 from 2 games against the Panthers, I think is, speaks volumes of the change that we saw. I don't know if you can single-handedly blame it on Tom Duffy. I don't know if they just started a bit slow or if Clifford potentially just got a bit more out of them with that. I'd say, Duffy's obviously a young playmaker trying to, make his mark in the NRL, where Clifford, he's been in the NRL for a few seasons now and got one of the great kicking games in the NRL, especially from a half. So, yeah, I don't know if I can blame Tom Duffy, but just if you're just looking at it from the change from him out and Clifford in, the results have definitely been a lot better since then up into round 10.
Of course, mate. But the issue is that sometimes you've got to give these young players a fair dinkum crack, and we'll get into it a little bit later, I'm guessing. But Tom Duffy wasn't given a true proper crack at first grade. The bloke made his first grade debut in Manly, so that's a tough place to make your debut in, man. And on both of those appearances in rounds 1 and 2, the forward pack did not do their job. The entire team's discipline with and without the ball was very poor as well, mate. Attention to detail was lacking. So, no, I do not blame Tom Duffy. It was a all-in team disaster piece for the first fortnight.
Yeah, another thing I forgot to mention as well, you and I were at round 6 over in Optus when they did take down the Rabbitohs 24 points to 16 in that clash. But now, right here, right now, I believe is where we need to discuss. This, to me,
Sure do.
I'll let you go for a rant, but this, to me, right here, round 11, is where it turns in the wrong direction. Again, I'll let Sam take the floor, but take it away, Sam.
Yeah, so there's a piece of me, and I still believe it, that the draw the week before led to this result. 24 points to 6, Manly came up and once again got a victory up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. But the massive change here is that we had the third swapping of the halves inside the first 11 weeks of the 2025 campaign. It was Tom Duffy and Tom Dearden, then it was Jake Clifford and Tom Dearden, and then Jackson Purdue, who has only just been friggin' born, just about. And as talented as he is, I personally would have stuck with Purdue in at center and kept Clifford. Clifford, the week before missed about 3 shots at field goal. But to drop Jake Clifford considering his form the prior 6-7 weeks leading up to that Panthers game, and to then just drop him like a cold spud. Todd Payton, that was his decision to drop Jay Clifford because he missed 3 field goals in a classic high-quality affair, was the wrong option, in my opinion, Dor.
Yeah, so they'd won 4 games, 4 games over 5 weeks, and then if you add in, say, the Broncos, gritty loss, so there'd been, 4 wins in 6 weeks with a bye and a gritty defeat with Clifford. It then came to the Warriors at Magic Round. They lost in a close game, which I would argue, I'm going to have a quick look just quickly here, is due to, I believe, mistakes were very costly. Cowboys completed a measly 73% in that game, not completing 11 sets, to then be dropped, or to, I don't know if he was dropped or
No, he was dropped. No,
yeah.
Jay Clifford played in that game against the Penrith Panthers, missed 3 field goals. Scott Drinkwater also missed a field goal as well. Tom didn't even have an attempt himself. Usually we would have had Valentine Holmes there to take a shot, but alas, he's down at the Red V these days. But Jay Clifford got unfairly dropped the week after against the Manly Sea Eagles, and Jackson Purdue, who I don't think had played a second of 5/8. I don't think, I'm trying to recollect 2024, but I really don't think Purdue did play 5/8. This was his 5/8 debut, a week after playing a 90-minute thriller against the Penrith Panthers. The Cowboys team were a little bit gassed. They still showed some fight, but Jackson Purdue and Tom Dearden working together for the first time in first grade did lead to a poor result here against the Manly Sea Eagles. But considering the form and considering that the bye was just a week away, look, I could, I was okay with the loss. Like, it wasn't nice, obviously, but I could see that, we just had gone through a really good patch of form, and we came up against some really tough opposition. Wet, heavy underfoot track at Magic Round, and then 90 minutes against Penrith. Yeah, I think that they were a bit gassed coming into their second bye 2025, but it was compounded by the dropping of Jake Clifford and having Purdue in, and Tom Dearden looking around and having his third halves partner inside the space of 10 or 11 or 12 weeks.
I thought it was an absolute clanger of a decision. It didn't make sense. Yes, he missed 3 field goals, but they didn't lose the game. If, they lost the game, I could potentially maybe even understand it, but you got to give someone like another crack. You can't just sack someone. They didn't even, or drop someone. Like, they didn't even lose the game. Clifford's been playing well, has helped them to, get to basically 50% after a 0-2 start to when he came into the team, to then be dropped in round 11. And then just the reason behind it is, like, yes, you're saying it's the field goal, but what Payton said to the press was a lot along the lines of that Jackson Purdue wants to play in the halves, and we want to give this young kid a crack at playing in the halves and look to our future.
Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit later, but that's that branches off into a very different conversation about Jackson Purdue's contract and how the Cowboys have sort of cornered themselves. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, it's just with how Purdue was playing at center. Like, Sam and I went to that game in Perth against the Rabbitohs, and Purdue was outstanding in that game. He was absolutely unbelievable, Purdue at center, for the first 10 rounds of the competition. I just thought that this change was not it.
Yeah, no, he was one of the best centers in the comp.
Yeah,
he was.
I just didn't understand this change at all, and it led to a flurry of inconsistent results. So they went to the bye. Another reason why, like I was just going to say, I would have just kept Clifford there if you were going to give Purdue, move him into the halves. At least you can give him 2 weeks to get ready for the next game by, getting him in the halves with Dearden and whatnot before going into that Tigers game to work on their combination, because it just didn't really flourish at all in that round 11 clash. But round 13, they came back after the bye, Sam, and got a close win against the West Tigers, 32 points to 28. Purdue was still in the halves there, so that was a win, I guess a tick in the positive for Purdue in the halves.
Also, just another one, and this is a very underrated loss. Murray Taulagi was injured in the game against Manly Seagulls, and this is where we lost Murray Taulagi for approximately 5 or 6 weeks here as well. And Taulagi, he's one of our better players. He's my favourite player up at the North Queensland Cowboys, and he still is somewhat underrated in some circles, and his loss was definitely felt here over the next few weeks.
So then they went down to Melbourne, went down 38 points to 14.
And this game, Dor, they were in it. They were really in it, bro. They fought really hard, and then it was about 10 minutes, maybe less than, but it was early on in the second half, and Jackson Polo threw an offload out the back about 15 meters inside of his own half. And I think the Cowboys had only just scored or just gotten back to a position where the game was back on an even keel. And then the Melbourne Storm never looked back. The first half, the Cowboys had a tremendous amount of possession and territory as well that they couldn't convert. Jake Clifford coming in, maybe the scoreline doesn't look as bad as what it is, but this was a game that really got away from the Cowboys. They were the better team, or they were right there with them in the first half, and then it just all went to hell in a handbasket because of a Jackson Polo offload out the back early on in the second half, 10, 15 meters inside their own territory, Dor.
Yeah, it would have been 20. I think it would have been like 24-14. Or something like that, if that offload that you're talking about, Sam, transpired. As you can see here, they scored back-to-back tries, Drinkwater and Derby, in the 52nd and 54th minute, and that would have made it, due to Drinkwater shooting 1 from 3 from goal, that would have made it 24-14 because Pappenhausen didn't miss. And then, that Nelson scored a bit after that, and then Wishart scored with 2 minutes to go. To make the margin what it was. But yeah, they were definitely in that game, and the scoreline doesn't really truly reflect the result.
Really, no. But the next result is one of the most infuriating performances I've seen in a while from the Cowboys, and there's 2 of them that they put forward in 2025 for the first time in their history in Queensland Country Bank Stadium. They leaked 58 points to the Dolphins in what was an origin-affected game. In this contest, the likes of a Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow was not playing. Trey Fuller wasn't floating around. Yes, the Dolphins had their main halves combination here, but they were missing some players due to origin and/or injury as well. They played with Avarillo at fullback. Meanwhile, you look at the Cowboys and Murray Taulagi, there he is. But the halves, Jackson Purdue and Jake Clifford again, that's the first time they linked up in 2025. We were missing forwards ourselves. Tom Duffy, you can see there on the bench. This was a really awful, lifeless performance from the North Queensland Cowboys. And, it killed our season. We leaked 50 points for the second time under coach Todd Payten's tenure. And this is just something that just has never escaped my mind, is that when Paul Green took over, maybe it was the year beforehand, but for about 10 to 11 years there, the Cowboys did not leak 50 points under Paul Green or maybe even Neil Henry there for a period of time. And then the very first year of Todd Payten's coaching tenure in 2021, some people don't remember that Todd Payten was a coach in 2021 for the Cowboys. Get that one right, please. Todd Payton, under his tenure, the Cowboys have leaked 50 points twice under his tenure. And yes, records are meant to be broken, and it was always going to happen eventually. But that was a proud stat that us Cowboys fans had, because for the first 10 years of our existence, we couldn't do anything but like 50 freaking points every freaking weekend. But for 10 years, we didn't. Under coach Todd Payton, we've now leaked only 50 points twice now. But this performance up there at QCB Stadium that night, boys weren't interested. They really weren't. It was deplorable.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a good one at all. The tries were just rolling in very quick fashion. It was like, yeah, the Cowboys really didn't come to play in that one. And yeah, that was, as I would say in all the other previews that I've done, that was season over for North Queensland in round 15 by the 50-point curse. But round 16 came about, and unfortunately, after conceding 58 points, they then went down to Sydney and conceded 42. So that's 100 points in 2 weeks of football, and 1/6 nearly of their season total of points leaked in back-to-back weeks. And you just think, where's the resolve? Like, if you you concede 58 points to 4. Yes, there was no Nanai, there was no Dearden, and there were some other players that were out as well in the forward pack for the Cowboys as well, but Robson. But to then come back and only score the 8 points, but then concede another 42, for me, I think starts to speak volumes of, like what you alluded to, Sam, that something went wrong after round 14 to 15. And the Origin players left or weren't there, but were they relying so heavily on these players, and, the attitude and mentality changed without those leaders or those type of players in the team, that then playing for one another and whatnot went out the window. It's just really tough to concede 100 points over 2 weeks on back-to-back. You'd expect a bit more resolve in that one. But I'll let you get to that a bit later, maybe, unless you want to interject, feel free to do so. But round 17 came about, and I remember you went to this one, Sam, 30 points to 24 against the Gold Coast. I remember you were happy to get the 2 points, but you weren't too happy with the performance that the Cowboys put up in that round 17 clash. But at least it was a step in the right direction. They were able to get 2 points in the kitty, or in the bag, for a nice win over the Titans. And it sort of started a bit more of a trend back into the right direction for the Cowboys in being competitive in games where they went down 26 points to 20 in a close one up at QCB to the Melbourne Storm, Sam. So, and then you look at it again the week after that. So they beat the Titans, which they should do, considering the 2025 Titans form under Des Hasler. They then at home lost a close one to the Melbourne Storm. Then they lost a close one to the Canterbury Bulldogs, which, if I remember, that was a heartbreaker one, that Bulldogs game. I'm trying to remember what exactly happened, but I'm pretty sure there was a lot of butchered tries. There was a lot of...
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, the Dolphins really had the Cowboys number in season 2025. 43 points. Quick maths, that's 101 points for the Dolphins, and 28 points. So it was heavy. The Cowboys did not like versing the Dolphins in season 2025. But to back up the Cowboys' case here, Sam, the Dolphins scored points for fun in season 2025. They were absolutely incredible throughout the whole season. They scored the most points in the competition by nearly like we scored 680, so like
Dolphins
40,
top 3.
41 points. Oh, like the Dolphins were first. But next best was the Broncos with 680. So 41 points to the better. The Dolphins were the next best contender in regards to their attack, Sam. So it wasn't like Dolphins scoring points on the Cowboys is out of the ordinary, but like 101, that's 1/7 nearly of their total for points for just against one team.
And can I be really honest here that this result in round 20, going down 43-24 against the Dolphins, whilst mathematically after this result, the boys were still alive, this was when the season finished, as far as I was concerned. I didn't think that we just left way too much ground to make up on. The way that they defended throughout that game was weak. And this was the game that I thought that our hope for finals was dashed.
Yeah, you can see they're still in the 13th spot where they finished, but they're like 7 points off the pace to the top 8. So you could see why Sam was and other Cowboys fans were not happy. And season was basically gone, even though it was mathematically still possible. And to keep the mathematically still possible alive, they were able to beat the Dragons 38 points to 32 at home in round 21. Round 22, Sam, have I missed, just quickly before I continue on, have I missed? So Duffy played in that game against St. George because Clifford was injured, if I'm correct.
I can't remember. I can't give you an honest answer there where Jake Clifford was.
When did Purdue leave? It must have been that game. Dragons, it must have been this game here where that Dolphins game was the last straw, and they've gone to back to
it looks
Purdue
like it, yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like that heavy defeat again to the Dolphins was Purdue's last game in the halves. Yeah, he started at 6 in that game. So
and this game in round number 22, this is the second game of 2025. This is the other one that I thought was unacceptable. This first half from the North Queensland Cowboys down at Shark Park, excuse my French, Dor, it was fucking disgusting. I haven't sworn like that on any of these episodes so far, but that first half performance by Cowboys, they didn't want to be there. It was one of the worst performances by any club of 2025. It was awful.
Yeah, conceded 4 tries to zip in the first half. And I guess a positive, I don't like Sharks definitely, I reckon, put the Q in the rack, but I thought that at least there was a bit more, resilience from the Cowboys in scoring 14 points in the second half to win the second half, with Cronulla only scoring, I believe it was only 6 points that Cronulla scored in the whole entirety of the second half. They're the Cowboys. So the Cowboys won 14-6. The reason I mentioned this, Sam, is just the point I alluded to before with these, back-to-back heavy losses here, and about, showing some resilience and, bouncing back. And I thought at least one positive, I guess you could take away, or 12 points, not 14, pardon my mistake there. But yeah, it's still that they, showed some resilience and won the second half there after, not looking like they were in the contest at all. But again, you come to the discussion of, if they were there come kickoff, maybe the scoreline would have been different. You can't just play 40 minutes of football and expect to get the result. Round 23 came about, and this was a heartbreaking defeat in Indigenous round. I believe it was the first of 2 Indigenous rounds for season 2025. Went down 19 points to 18. I think it was a Mitch Moses field goal that was the difference between the two teams in that clash, Sam. They then responded in their home fixture for Indigenous round in great fashion, 38 points to 4 win against Newcastle. But Sam and I alluded to that in the Newcastle podcast. Newcastle had already switched off by that point. There was that many injuries, and O'Brien was already out the door, that they'd already were looking towards this campaign of 2026. They then were able to get the job done against the West Tigers down at Leichhardt.
Good game.
Yep. They were able to get the chocolates there. That was a very entertaining contest. I remember that one, 34 points to 28. The Cowboys got the win there. They then showed some fight again against the Broncos in the derby, 38 points to 30. They went down, and then they had the bye in the last round. So, look, we've gone into a lot of depth in this 2025 review, but any last final words for the 2025 campaign, and maybe a good way to move this into 2026, the preview we're about to get to, Sam, is obviously outside of maybe the defense, what is some things you'd like to see the Cowboys leave in 2025 and bring or fix in spades when it comes to 2026?
I think I'd like to see Todd Payton be a little bit more wiser with some of his selections, especially on the interchange bench. Someone like a John Bateman was brought up in 2025, and there were some games where he did really well. There were others where it was evident that he shouldn't be selected for first grade the week after due to some missed tackles here and there and lack of run meters or so. But no, it's really the defense and the attitude of the joint that we really need to improve in 2026.
All right. Speaking of 2026, let's get straight into it. Let's leave 2025 behind. It is a new year, 2026, and the Cowboys have a few players leaving the club and also some new ones coming in, Sam. So Reece Robson is probably, we'll go through the list. This is by far the biggest one. It is light and day between first and second, even though Jordan McLean was outstanding. I honestly thought he could have gone around again for another season. I thought Jordan McLean was great in 2025, but he decided to call it quits. We wish Jordan all the best in his next chapter. A great footballer, achieved a lot, came up from the Melbourne Storm up to North Queensland and didn't really skip a beat at all. He continued his outstanding career. Look, he would have played for New South Wales as well, but a heartbreaking injury unfortunately led to him not playing in Origin. But he was an outstanding footballer. Just that I think Cowboys have some quality forwards that are able to be able to fill the gap that McLean has left. One of those gains, I think, will do it very well. Tom Duffy is another one. He's gone, come down from the North Queensland Cowboys to the arch rivals, the Broncos. Yes, this is a Cowboys podcast, but Mr. Duffy, we welcome you to Brisbane. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you play a bit for the Broncos, considering now with Kobe Black leaving, I think Duffy will be probably next in if something happens to our halves. Unless we move Ben Hunt back to the halves. So might be second, I'd say. But I think there could be a chance we see Duffy play for the Broncos in season 2026. Carl Lawton has gone over to the Super League champs, the whole Kingston Rovers. And unfortunately for Carl Lawton, he has brought a loss with him to Hull KR. They got walloped last night, 38-4, I'm pretty sure. In a game. I think it might have been a trial match, but yeah, Hull KR did not start the 2026 campaign very well. But we wish Lawton all the best over there in the Super League, as well as Amale Bitangane, who made his NRL debut in season 2025 for the Cowboys, as pictured in the bottom left-hand corner. He's gone over to the London Broncos, Sam, and has signed a contract with the Perth Bears for season 2027. So we will see Bittengane back in the NRL in season 2027 with the Perth Bears. Then we've also got Semi Valame. So 3 of these Cowboys have gone over to the Super League. Semi Valame has gone over with Ravalawa, and I think Blake Taff of all over it. Castleford Tigers, who I can't remember if they won or lost last night, but regardless, Valame has gone over there with Castleford. And then Nicholas Lenaz that made his debut as well. I believe it was at the last season, Sam, 2025, that he made his debut. He's unfortunately not kept an NRL contract with the Cowboys, but he is not far. He's basically still in the same city. He's just on a Q Cup contract with the Townsville Blackhawks, Sam. So what are your thoughts on the losses? The obvious 2 were the first 2 big losses, 1 to 13 players or 1 to 17 players every week, but Reece Robson, a real blow.
I absolutely loved the work that Reece Robson put in. He will be, at this point in time, remembered as the 3rd best hooker that the Cowboys have ever had the fortune to field. So it is a massive loss, man. Made his debut for New South Wales when he was with the Cowboys, the only New South Wales, or not the only New South Wales representative, I don't think, for New South Wales. But no, it's an enormous loss. And Jordan McLean, I think, had a slow start to his career up in North Queensland, but I think from 2022 onwards, he was a power of strength, man. And for those last couple of years, there was some unfair, harsh comments directed towards Jordan McLean. I thought he was much better than what people gave him credit for at the end of the day, man. So yes, those 2 men up the top there are huge, but Jordan McLean remains on the coaching staff in some capacity, not like an assistant or not like an attacking or defensive coach, but he is still up there as an assistant,
a mentor, I reckon, or like
a mentor. Thank you. Yes,
mentor. Definitely help out with some of the young forwards up in North Queensland, like Caden Lars, for example. Like someone like Caden can learn an absolute mammoth amount from Jordan McLean, and having him right there, supporting not only him but also the other young forwards. Like you think of it, like someone like a Griffin Neame, it seems like he's been in the NRL for ages, but in terms of like NRL age, he's probably not really reached his peak in terms of getting there. So I think McLean, it's great that the Cowboys are looking after him post football and keeping him around and helping out at the club. That's absolutely outstanding. But I think these gains are some really good ones, especially one that only has happened in the last week or 2. I think it is a stunning signing from the North Queensland Cowboys. Reed Marnie is the big one. They've lost Reece Robson. Just quickly on Reed Marnie, I just want to have a little vent quickly, not against the Cowboys, but against the Bulldogs and the treatment of Reed Marnie. Reed Marnie is a quality hooker. He's a hooker that starts and plays long minutes. The treatment that he got at the back end of his Bulldogs tenure was not fair. Yes, they were trying to look towards the future with Haywood, but Marnie's way better player than Bailey Haywood, with the utmost respect at this point of their careers. And the Bulldogs' results went downhill when they decided to move Marnie out of starting hooker. Look, Reed Marnie, he's a bit of a stirrer, a bit of a mongrel, if you will. But you need some of those in your football team. And the Cowboys have actually picked up 2 with him and Matt Lodge, who I think, both 1 to 17 players. Reed Marnie will start at 9. He'll play, I think, close to like 60, 65 minutes, I reckon. Would have been probably playing close to 80 until they signed Sony Luke this week. Started this week, I think it was. but I think it is an absolute great signing, Sony Luke. I think he was doing something with South Sydney, I thought, after not being extended with Penrith. But then the Cowboys struck and got him straight into the top 30 for this season. This is 2026 season. Great signing. Luke was outstanding, pardon me, in the Pacific Championship for Tonga. I thought he was one of Tonga's best players throughout the campaign, or at least underrated performers in their campaign. I really like it. And I think his speed and deceptiveness out of dummy half can be absolutely deadly at the back ends of clashes for the Cowboys in this upcoming campaign. And to lose Robson, a real quality hooker, but then to strike back with a quality hooker in Reed Marnie, yes, probably not to the same level as Reece Robson, but not too far behind. If there wasn't one Harry Grant for the Maroons, Reed Marnie would definitely be close, if not, top 3 hooker in regards to Queensland. I'd say he's probably second, maybe. I don't know. He'd be close anyway, but it's also good for Reed Marnie to come home. I do remember I was there for the Eels versus Cowboys finals game a few seasons ago, and seeing all Marnie's family and everything all there for that. Now to think that they'll be at every Cowboys game, they don't have to travel all the way down to Sydney to see their son play or family play, I think is going to be huge for Reed as well. Just know that his family's only around the corner and that they'll be there and supporting every single game. So I think that's massive for the Cowboys. Matt Lodge, I think, is a huge signing. Look, yes, he's been around the block. He's been to a few clubs, but I thought his stint in Manly was very good. All Matt Lodge needs to do is just have a clean bill of health. His health has let him down immensely these past few seasons. And to lose someone like Jordan McLean and get someone like Matt Lodge, I think he'll be absolutely very, very good for the Cowboys. We've already touched on Sony Luke. Great pickup from the Cowboys, considering, the basically bang action or nature of the move. Yep, Sony, we want you up here and we want you now. You've got a 1-year deal with the Cowboys. And then the other man's James Walsh as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that I saw on Instagram that James Walsh might be injured. But I haven't heard the Cowboys or anything say anything about it as of yet. But I'm pretty sure on Instagram I saw James Walsh post something from a hospital bed on his Instagram. So I think he might have had. I'm thinking it's shoulder again. I only say again because we'll discuss that shortly. But yeah, not the best if that's the case for James Walsh. I'm pretty sure he's up there on a 2 or 3 year deal. So wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can contribute in the Cowboys, whether it be this campaign or in years to come. Sam, what are your thoughts on your gains, mate, for your Cowboys in season 2026?
Yeah, it definitely levels things back out, doesn't it? Matt Lodge, say what you will about him, but I agree with you that his form down at Manly was very good, and he is that kind of big frame that the Cowboys not necessarily crying out for, but yes, very much is a nice addition to it all. I've always been a fan of Sonny Luke. James Walsh is someone that has had a massive rap on him down there at the Dolphins. He's coming up from the Dolphins on a 3-year deal, and he can fit anywhere in the back line. A pinch at the halves, but center, wing, fullback, those are his positions, and he's on he and a couple of other people are on record saying that he wouldn't mind challenging Scott Drinkwater for the fullback spot in 2026 and onwards.
Yes, no, that a very good list, Sam. Don't you mute yourself, mate, because you're about to swing into gear again, my good sir. And yeah, look, I think it's a really good list. You look at it like the Cowboys have got in players that they needed to in the positions that they needed to make sure that there wasn't a huge gaping hole in regards to, the drop off of having, say like a quality player like Reece Robson, and then, you debuting someone at hooker or something like that, or you playing someone out of position and whatnot. So I think that the recruitment from the Cowboys for this 2026 campaign Very good, I think. And then to swoop on Sony Luke, I think is outstanding. That was class from the Cowboys to get that move done, and I think it could really prove its weight in gold for this campaign. We'll wait and see, Sam. But look, take it away, mate. Let's go into your train and trial development squad list for the Cowboys in season 2026, mate.
So, in doing my study for this, I'm actually rather excited and I'm impressed with this train and trial squad. Now, the first few names are all on development contracts, and then the final 7 names are all on train and trials. But from what I've studied and what I've read, I'm really impressed with freaking everybody just about. And the first name, we were talking about Reed Marnie and Sonny Luke as hooking options. Xavier Karisk is coming. I have seen him. I have watched him for a couple of years now with Mackay Cutters. He is quick off the mark. He's a crafty bugger. He's got good passing. He's just young and raw, and he is developing really, really nicely. I believe he copped an injury halfway through the year last year that stunted him. But if there's one name that you probably should be on alert for, it's definitely Xavier Karisk is one of them. The second one, Mason Barber. Unfortunately, he missed all of the 2025 Queensland Cup season due to a awful shoulder injury. However, this bloke is a former Australian schoolboy, and the Cowboys have had circles on him, have had tabs on him for the better part of 4 years now. And Mr. Mason Barber is only about 20 to 21 years of age. Please go look at some of his highlights, because there is a try there that he scores from about 70 meters out, and he beats about 8 or 10 players, including one of his own that accidentally got in his way. A very zippy young man. It just seems really powerful in the core to break through some of these tackles, and then just seemingly always seems to be thinking one step ahead of everybody. He's a very elusive young man and very impressive. He'll probably start the year with some cobwebs, obviously, because he hasn't played in 10 to 12 months now. But watch out for Mason Barber in the Queensland Cup. Also should be noted that there's not been any delegations yet for players to the Northern Pride, the Mackay Cutters, and returning in 2026, the Townsville Blackhawks. The Cowboys have 3 feeder clubs again in 2026. The Blackhawks were with the South Sydney Rabbitohs for about 2 years there. So, yes, they're a feeder club to Townsville again, the Townsville Blackhawks. All right, moving on to the next one now. Ethan King. He is another fella that you probably should keep an eye on and be on high alert for. Ethan King was originally born in North Queensland, and he is the nephew of Matt King, New South Wales origin legend, Melbourne Storm legend as well. So he went down to the Roosters, and he's been doing his thing down at the Roosters, made his debut for Easts in 2024 and had a couple of games in 2025. He's almost like another James Walsh, where he can fit just about anywhere in the back line, but he seemingly wants that fullback spot, but he'll fit in anywhere, as he has said. He can even fit in on the wing. The couple of games that I remember him playing, he's got a bit about him, doesn't he? He runs the ball pretty ferociously. A very impressive young man. Then we've got Mr. Ronald Filatoga. He is a winger who made his Fiji debut last year in the Pacific Championships. He's been playing Queensland Cup since 2021. He is 25 to 26 years of age, so he's got more maturity under the legs than some of these names in this train and trial list. But he's been was a part of the Winner Manly Seagulls last year, and the Winner Manly Seagulls got down to the preliminary final last year. So he was sort of affiliated with the Broncos there in 2025, but he's up on a development contract with the North Queensland Cowboys. Liam Sutton, this one is very interesting to me. He's a halfback, and he's probably about 4th in the pecking order at this point in time. at the very least. But he is a Newcastle junior. He played about 3 years of reserve grade for the Knights before he ventured up to Queensland only halfway through 2025. And in his campaign for Winner Manly Seagulls, he's a halfback, by the way, Liam Sutton made his debut for the Winner Manly Seagulls at halfback. And these are his stats. So he played 15 games in the Queensland Cup in 2025, and he scored 10 tries, had 14 try assists, and 15 line break assists in just 15 games did Mr. Liam Sutton. And now the Cowboys have got him on a development contract. For a young fella, he's got a big frame on him, like a big frame as in a Michael Morgan, not the pace of Michael Morgan, but he's a big bugger for a 5'8". So that's really interesting to me, despite him maybe being a fourth string option at this stage. But much luck to him. We've got Mr. Matthew Watts, a prop who made his debut for the Mackay Cutters back in 2024 and is going to be starting for the Cutters, I believe, in 2026. Mitch Prest has been a part of the Canberra Raiders system for approximately 4 to 5 years now. He won the 2021 SG Ball Grand Final. He will be part of the Townsville Blackhawks, I believe. So Mitch Prest coming up from the Canberra Raiders. Atasi James has played for Manly. He's played for the West Tigers. He is a mammoth human being akin to Taniela Paseka, I would suggest, something like that. And now he's up and we're crying out, or North Queensland Cowboys are crying out for some big men, some big props. And if Atasi James has a good Queensland Cup 2026 campaign, wherever he is chosen to play for, whoever he's chosen to play for, he could be a mainstay there for a few more years. Going into the next name, Wiramu Greg. He was a part of the Cowboys system, went down to Parramatta. Thought he did okay down at Parramatta, but now he's back up and he's on a train and trial list. Tyler Moriarty, we've got another hooker, and he's also from the eastern suburbs. And I've been hearing this name for a couple of years now. Apparently, his best attribute is his speed out of dummy half, which is always nice. A very good player, apparently, so keep an eye out for him. Ben Rumble. I've never heard or read the last name Rumble in rugby league before, mate. So this is fantastic. He's a fullback that's coming up from the Dragons, and he played for the Northern Pride in 2025, and he has been re-signed for the Northern Pride in 2026. And then we've got Mr. Isaiah Latu, a prop from Canberra, and he's been a part of the same system, or was a part of the same system as Mitch Prest, and he played 20 games for Townsville last year, so he's back again, but on a train and trial squad. And then this last name here, Dudley Detoy. He made his Papua New Guinean international debut last year in the Pacific Championships and did impress, did score a couple of tries, or just the one try, but he did score. And speaking of scoring, he was the top try scorer in the Queensland Cup for the Townsville Blackhawks in 2025. So Dudley Detoy is a threat. He is a danger out there on the sting. He's on a train and trial list, but we'll see what happens with him, because there's a fair chance. This is not to be too presumptuous or assume too heavily, but with the Papua New Guinean Chiefs coming in and Dudley Detoy being a young man and killing it for the PNG Kumals in the Pacific Championships, and I assume at the end of this year as well, if he replicates what he did in 2025, maybe the PNG Chiefs might have too good of an offer for him to knock back. But all in all, man, I'm really impressed with what the Cowboys have formulated and created here in this train and trial list. Kerisk and King are the two names that I would implore Cowboys fans to be on high alert for. If you're going to be watching reserve grade footy, try to keep an eye on Mason Barber and Liam Sutton. So those are the two names there, Kerisk and Ethan King. I think King will probably make his debut, if I had to say. One or the other before who. I think King will probably make his debut before Kerisk, but it's only a matter of time for a few of these men, mate. So I'm excited. I really like the list, mate. What about you?
Yeah, it was just that Mason Barber try, was that for the Keeper Park?
I don't know if it was Keeper Park, but it was in the Coffs Harbour tournament in 2024, mate.
I think he's your next fullback.
That's the idea. That's the idea at this current stage. And I think Scott Drinkwater is contracted till the end of 2028, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is 2028.
No, 2027.
Oh, okay. So Drinkwater's a free agent on November 1st. Well, Mason Barber's got to knock off the cobwebs, doesn't he, anyway, and do some work before we can really start talking stuff like that. But yes, you're right. You're right. Mason Barber is definitely penciled in as the fullback of the future. And if you just saw what I think you just saw, it's an amazing try. And there's more where that came from as well.
Yeah, no. Mason Barber's been very hyped youngster. I think a lot of people that know rugby league know the hype around that young man. Xavier Kerrisk as well, Sam. He's going to be an outstanding talent, but I don't know if he'd be over the moon with the Reed Varney signing. But Sony Luke's only come for the season, so there is a chance maybe in 27 or something like that we see Kerrisk come into the first grade team. I actually reckon the man that could debut for the Cowboys out of this list for this season is Dudley Dutoit. I think is the one that will feature. Reason I say that is the only player that I reckon can play on the wing outside of Taulagi and Burns is probably Jackson Paulo.
Robert Derby?
And Derby, yeah. But outside of those guys, I think that Dutoit's next in line. You've got like Vilea, Laybutt, Chester, Purdue, like all those guys that can all play center. But if there's, injuries or whatever in that back line, I think that there's a real chance that Dudley Dutoit gets his crack. He showed what he's about on the international stage. He showed he can look. The way he scored tries last season in the Q Cup shows that if he starts the way that he finished last year, I think the noise will be too much for him not to play in season 2026 or this year for the Cowboys. I think form can only go one way, Sam, and it will lead to opportunities. You did say about the PNG Chiefs with Dudley Dutoit, but that's not till 2030. So like ages well down the track.
28, bro.
Oh, sorry, 28. Yeah, but that's still like 2 seasons away.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's certainly a shot. Yes.
The Cowboys can certainly strike. And, I don't know when you want to bring this up, but Murray Taulagi still hasn't been extended by the Cowboys. So there is vacancies at the moment unless he is extended, which he should be. There is still a chance for Dudley Dutoit to start in this Cowboys backline. But for me, Mason Barber, that's the one. I think he's the one, if you look at it, not as per se as the best player that's going to get an opportunity this year. I just think in terms of talent out of the whole list, I think that Mason Barber's the top of the line from what I have seen, my personal opinion. But a very good list nonetheless, Sam, filled with great young North Queensland talent and a bit of sprinkles from Sydney as well. So it's good to see. But look, let's get straight to the draw. I will sort of take the reins back a little bit here for this one, my good man. But I will touch on your thoughts, and I know you'll have a fair bit. But let's go into the draw. So the Cowboys only play 2 reigning finals teams from season 2026, which is the Brisbane Broncos, which will be 2 games, obviously, being the Queensland Derby, and the Melbourne Storm in the first 7 rounds of the season. So you can see they versus the Storm in round 4, and they verse the Broncos in round 6. So basically they only verse 2 finals contending teams from 2025 campaign in the first 7 weeks of the competition, which I think's outstanding. Like, if you were a Cowboys fan, you got that first 7 weeks, you'd be very, very happy with what you've been dished up with. They have a very handy finish as well to the regular season with games against the Titans in round 23, the Eels in round 24, bye, and then the Tigers in round 26 as well before a last round clash against the Raiders. And I'm just going to segue that straight to you, Sam, because I know how much you love to look at the finals run from round 20, or, you know, the basically the moving point, you know, the finals part of, you know, the win or loss, you know, are you going to make the 8? Are you not going to make the 8 sort of part of the draw, where it's either, you know, you're moving in the right direction or you're moving in the wrong direction. So also let us know your thoughts of the draw as a whole, and then I'll go through the teams they played twice, once, the final verdict and all that, and the final grading, my friend. So let us know.
Yeah, man. All right. So run to the finals starts in round number 20 for every team in the NRL. And it starts with a Sunday afternoon clash against the Dolphins. That is down at Suncorp Stadium. Now, there are 4 home games that the Cowboys have in the final 8 weeks of the competition, round 20 through to round 27. And then we've got round 21 and round 22. They have a game against the Brisbane Broncos, and then a short turnaround to a Thursday night football clash against the Roosters. So that's 3 weeks against some opposition that, even though we haven't gone into one of those teams that I've just mentioned, that's 3 straight weeks. That's tough opposition. They then have back-to-back away games, one against the Gold Coast Titans on a Thursday night. So there's a 7-day rest for them. And then the week after, they have about a 9-day rest, but they travel down to Sydney to take on the Parramatta Eels. They then have their 3rd and final bye in round number 25. And then it's a very nice finish here and there, right here and now. Round 26 and round 27, back-to-back home games to finish the year, one against the West Tigers, one against the Canberra Raiders. There's a couple of teams there that we expect to improve. There's a couple of teams there that we have no idea what to expect from. In terms of opposition, the Raiders, Roosters, Broncos and Dolphins, I think 4 of those teams are going to be troublesome for the boys. The trip down to Parramatta has been very barren for us against the Parramatta Eels. I don't think the boys have ever beaten Eels at CommBank Stadium since the joint opened up back in 2019. They did go close last year. But yeah, so that run to the finals there, if they're 2 wins outside of the top 8 and they need to really bank up the wins in the run to the finals, it's tricky. I don't think it's easy. But to your point, you did say that they do take on the Titans, they do take on Tigers and Parramatta, some of the teams that finished around them in 2025. So, but we expect the competition to be tougher. We expect these teams to improve, at least a few of them anyway. So, I'm okay. I think we can definitely bank up half of these games for sure. But it's just that round 20 through to round 22 run to the finals where it's Dolphins, Broncos and Roosters, 3 straight weeks altogether, including a short turnaround from a Saturday into a Thursday night footy game that just has me just pausing. But no, it's definitely not the hardest end to the season that we've seen so far.
I've got a few questions, but I will leave them to the end of this draw that I want to ask you about, Sam. But let's go into it. So the teams that the Cowboys played twice, the Tigers, the Titans, the Broncos, the Sea Eagles, the Eels, the Roosters, the Raiders, and the Dolphins. So a bit of a mixed bunch there if you look at it. So like the Tigers, Titans, Sea Eagles, and Eels all didn't play finals last year, where you've got the Broncos, the Roosters, the Raiders, and the Dolphins. So it's a bit of a 4-3 split, unfortunately, in the bad favor. But look, that's not the it's a 4-4 split. Pardon me. So Tigers, Titans, Eels, and Sea Eagles, and then you got Broncos, Roosters, Raiders, Dolphins. So yeah, 4 good teams, 4 not so good. So not too bad. Teams that look, the Broncos, you're always going to play twice anyway, due to just with the Queensland Derby, and it's the same with the Titans. That you're going to get those Queensland Derbies, and the Dolphins for that matter. So that all makes sense with playing these Queensland teams twice with the the 4X Shield and whatnot going on. So the Knights, Storm, Dragons, Sharks, Bulldogs, Rabbitohs, Warriors, and Panthers are the teams Cowboys verse once. As you can see on the graphic to the right, the whole draw is there, but their bye rounds are in round 15, 18, and 25. So the Cowboys have to play 14 straight weeks before they get a bye. So that's not the best. But it's good that they get buys in and around that origin period as well, with strong representation most likely in those origin fixtures, Sam. So that is pretty handy for the Cowboys, I guess, with just getting 2 of them in and around that period. But yeah, again, we've had this argument about draws and when the best time to have your bye rounds is it better to have them all crammed in together or all spaced out? I guess it's going to be a long first 14 weeks before a bit of respite, I guess, for the Cowboys. But look, with that start, I think they can string together some victories. So final verdict, handy draw for the Cowboys, who have the perfect platform to kickstart or move their way towards a potential top 8 finish, especially with that start to the season. They have a whopping 16 7-day or more turnarounds, which is crucial for recovery, especially, coming from up north in North Queensland, a bit more distance to travel to games than some of the other teams. And their round 25 bye will be very handy for easy points when it comes to, the finals berths or finals berth, considering like being on the line. They also play this year's also rans the Tigers, Titans, Manly, Parramatta, and then obviously I wouldn't say that I put the Dolphins in the same category as those ones, but they all obviously didn't make finals. So the games that the Cowboys play against the 2025 top 8 and bottom 9 teams, they play 11 games against the top 8 teams, 6 against the top 4, 13 against the bottom 9, 5 against the bottom 4. They have 1 5-day turnaround. They have 6 6-day turnarounds and 16 7+ day turnarounds. It's a pretty good draw, Sam, for your North Queensland Cowboys. I don't think the men from up north can be, or North Queensland Cowboys supporters at whole can be angry with the draw that they've been given. For me, I'm giving it a B to B+ rating for the North Queensland Cowboys with their draw for this 2026 campaign. What I want to talk to you about before we move on to our team lists and injuries and whatnot is the trip to Las Vegas, Sam. What does it mean for the people of North Queensland to, be selected to be able to go over to and represent, the people of North Queensland over in America, in the States? I know they've probably Cowboys players and also members and fans have been jealous of, all these other teams going over there and having a crack. But 2026 is the year that the Cowboys get to, go over there. And we haven't really gone into it as much, but, since the Cowboys are your team, I really want to get your thoughts about the whole, the excitement and the buzz about going over to Vegas.
The North Queensland Cowboys are one of those clubs, and there's a handful, talk to the Canberra Raiders, but they're one of those clubs that are so far out of sight, out of mind, that it almost feels disrespectful as a Cowboys fan whenever we turn on the TV, turn on the radio, flip open the newspaper, and there's just nothing ever said about us. You know, last year, yeah, fair enough. We didn't finish inside the top 8, fair enough. But still, though, got some fantastic players in Tom Dearden, Taumalolo, Scott Drinkwater, Down Lungy, and still there's never any buzz. And so now that the Cowboys are one of the 4 teams to play on the Las Vegas stage on such an enormous occasion, it is a very special moment for the club's history. And unfortunately, I won't be going over there. Unfortunately, just can't afford it. But that's all right. I'll be having fun streaming it when that day comes. It's very important, and I really hope that they lean into it when they do go over there. I don't think they've quite leaned into it so much so far, but Dallas Cowboys are enormous over there. It's not too far away, Las Vegas to Dallas, not too far. But to try and, capture the minds of some Dallas Cowboys fans, or just any, any American sporting fan, with the likes of a Taumalolo run at opposition, seeing his impact, it's special, and it's one of the biggest games in Cowboys history. It is really disheartening to all off season see and hear that it's the Knights versus Cowboys in Las Vegas. Both teams were dreadful at points throughout 2025. So we want to say sorry to you American fans for putting you through what you're about to see. No, man, it's a brand new season. Both teams are going to be up for it. The Knights have a brand new spine just about. The Cowboys are going to be back for blood in 2026. So it's a great opportunity for them. They'll put their best foot forward. We've seen some really good footy over there in Las Vegas, and I don't think we're going to see anything different, man. I think we're going to have a pretty close game between the Knights and Cowboys. So yeah, for a club that doesn't really get the spotlight on them, and at times it feels like we're disrespected, even though we do such good work in the community and play some really attractive footy at times, it's going to be really good to see the Cowboys, see the boys get the spotlight that they so thoroughly deserve.
Yeah, and considering that, the side you also mentioned, the Raiders played in Vegas last year, and then the Cowboys are playing there this year. Look, to be honest, Sam, those people that are saying that just don't get it, respectfully. You can't judge a season. Look, you can look at a list and say, yeah, that's a really good list of players, or that's a really good team or whatever, but you can't judge the football that's going to be played. Yes, it's a whole new season. Like, Knights have got a whole new coach in Justin Holbrook. The Cowboys have injected some new coaches into their system. They've got some new players, to come and help out. I think you can't just say, because of 2025 form, this is going to be a lackluster, contest. I'm going to turn the TV off or something like that. No, you need to judge it from what we're going to see. And I think we're going to see a very entertaining clash over in Vegas between the Cowboys and the Newcastle Knights. Just quickly before we move on, mate, the preseason trials against, I want to get your thoughts on that as well. With what you would do, say if Coach Revel is in charge, not Mr. Payton. Coach Revel is in charge. What are you doing in regards to, are you putting out your best team in this first trial against the Bulldogs, or are you putting out your best team in the second trial against the Panthers?
So Coach Wobble and Jaw has read that Todd Payton has said that the boys, when they get over there, they're not going to wait until the game is over. They're going to go over there and immediately relax and soak up the Las Vegas atmosphere. We've seen teams in the previous couple of years that they've done nothing. They've pretty much gone into lockdown mode and then have their party and, trip photos a couple of days after the contest. But Todd Payton has said, we're going over and we're going to relax and soak it up, and then we're going to play our footy. So in saying that, then I personally would play the Penrith Panthers up in Mackay, the second trial. I would play them in Mackay, because the Cowboys are going to do enough traveling inside the first half of the 2026 campaign. So instead of going all the way down to Cogra Oval to take on the Doggies, I would say, nah, boys, let's take down our C to B string team down to Cogra, have them hit it out, and then just a short, hour flight, less than, down to Mackay, or 3-hour drive down to Mackay. So that second trial against the Penrith Panthers at Mackay is when I would play the big stars.
Yeah, considering with what you said with Todd Payton's comments as well, Sam, I wholeheartedly agree. I think you're better off leaving it, play your best game or your best team in that second game. I just don't see much point in playing them in the first game. That's just, I think I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm sure a lot of other people agree. But let's continue moving on, my friend. And unfortunately, the injury ward. I haven't got anything on James Walsh. I just saw an Instagram story, so I haven't got anything, so I can't put him there. But that's just a situation to monitor. Griffin Neem and Jeremiah Nanai, both shoulder recos. Neem underwent his shoulder reco a bit earlier than Jeremiah Nanai, but unfortunately suffered a setback, which is seeing him return in rounds 2 and 3, or around that 2 to 3 mark. And unfortunately for Nanai, who suffered that injury in the Pac Champs, he's looking at around round 4 to round 6 return for Jeremiah Nanai into the Cowboys side. So strong players, 1 to 17 players, 1 to 13 probably for Nanai, and Neem would be pushing close to starting 1 to 13. He'd definitely be on the bench nonetheless. So some players that we need to, take into account, Sam, when we're putting our teams together, my friend. And as I normally am leading the way, but for this podcast, it is your team. So you take us through your round 1 Cowboys team for the trip to Vegas, my friend.
Alrighty, so let me preface this by saying that Todd Payton has come out and said Jackson Purdue will be the halves partner to Tom Dearden in 2026. It seems like that Purdue will be it, and Jake Clifford will be looking on the outer. However, personally, I still would have Purdue play at center. I would still have Jake Clifford partner Tom Dearden in the halves. But because the information that we got, that's how I have formulated this team list. So at fullback is Scott Drinkwater. The wing for me is Murray Taulagi and Braden Burns. Braden Burns was so good last year. It's not even funny. The centers for me here, this is an opportunity for anyone that is a center up in North Queensland to take the bull by the horns and run with it and break out, because the center positions, both of them, are not locked down in any way, shape, or form. However, for me, I love what I have seen from Zach Laybutt. I think him coming back last year from an ACL showed signs of ring rust and a lack of confidence, and that is fair enough. We've seen that from 95% of other men and women that have come back from an ACL injury. So, and he's still a young man, but he's still got some really nice classy touches in him. So he's one center. The other one, Thomas Chester. It is time for this young man, not because he's done nothing. It's just that it's time that this young man's body finally gives him a fair dinkum crack at first grade. Everyone loves what Tom Chester has done in his appearances for the North Queensland Cowboys. We've seen what he can do for the Northern Pride as well. Tom Chester can fit in at center. He is preferred spot. His preferred spot is at fullback, admittedly, but this is a player that just has to be in the team, and he can play center. And I think the way that it would probably work out, Laybutt would partner Burns, and then Chester would partner Taulagi. I'm pretty sure that's how it would work out. Jackson Purdue and Tom Dearden would be my halves pairing. Purdue wearing the 6, Dearden at 7. My starting forward pack, well, Griffin Neem is injured, so Jason Taumalolo, Cohen Hess, and Reed Marnie is my starting front row. Got Helam Lukey, Sam McIntyre, and Ruben Cotter as my back row. McIntyre got injured with a bad calf injury about halfway through 2025, and a lot of people just forgot that he existed. It felt like to me anyway. Sam McIntyre has elevated his game and has played some of the best footy of his career since he's moved up to Townsville and been coached under Todd Payton. And he can fit in anywhere from centre to front row to second row. He's done really well at second row. And I think of the other second row options that we've got at the moment, I think Sam McIntyre get in there and rip and tear up in there in Las Vegas. Then we've got my interchange. I am bringing Sonny Luke straight in. I'm thinking that maybe Reed Marnie plays the first 45 to 50 minutes, and then you give Sonny Luke about 15 minutes to just go haywire and sprint out a dummy half and play electric footy with Purdue and Drinkwater. It's mouth-watering stuff, to be perfectly honest with you. Then we've got a contentious one here, Dor, because I don't know if Matt Lodge is going to be allowed in the fucking country, mate. But I've got Matt Lodge in at jersey number 15. We need his size. We've got Thomas McKaylee, jersey 16. The photos that I've seen of him, he is looking like a nightmare level. Thomas McKaylee. He needs to be into the 1 to 17 every single week, in my opinion, Dor. And then I've got John Bateman just scraping in. He will give someone like a Sam McIntyre a bit of a breather, if not a Hylam Lukey. And then my 18 to 20 is Jake Clifford, Viliami Vailea, and Harrison Edwards, Dor.
Any last comments or anything you want to touch on before
you shoot me down? Okay, then. No worries, mate. No, you shoot me with double barrel shotgun, bro.
No, you're right. I just wanted to make sure. All right. My team. I have got the same fullback with Mr. Drinkwater, the same wingers as Burns and Taulagi. I am going for sanity prevails, hopefully. And I have got Purdue in the centers with Chester.
I love it.
Yeah. I have got Clifford and Dearden in the halves. Thought the Cowboys played their best football when those two were together in the halves. This is nothing against Purdue. I just think it's a bit early in his development, and he was so good at center. I just think his best spot in this Cowboys side is in the centers. I've got the same front row pairing in Tamalolo, Marnie, and Hess. I've got John Bateman and Hylam Lukey starting in the second row. For me, Bateman is not an impact player. Bateman is someone that works, whether it be in his defense. Look, he's certainly not a second rower that's going to give you like 150 run meters a game. That's not John Bateman. John Bateman's someone that works, and he puts in, yes, he made some bad missed tackles last season, but normally his defense is normally very stout. And if he can get his offloads and whatnot happening, I think if you've got John Bateman up there, I think you've got to have him starting with my man. Please, the man above, give this guy some strength and health and keep him on the paddock in season 2026. My Hylam Lukey is very high on this young man, and his body just keeps failing him. So I really hope he can stay on the paddock in season 2026, because boy, this kid could be something very, very special. Ruben Cotter, don't even need to say anything about Ruben Cotter. He is my lock. I am the same with you. Sonny Luke in at 14 straight away. However, I would play the cards a bit differently, like I alluded to earlier when we were talking about the gains and losses. I'd be playing Reed Marnie 60 to 70 minutes straight, 65, 70 minutes straight, and then bringing on Sonny Luke against very tired defense in the last 15 minutes to try and win you the match or provide some spark. So that's what I'm going with, Sonny Luke. I am, again, hopefully Matt Lodge can get the clearance and get over there, because I think the Cowboys definitely need him. I've got him there in jersey 15. I've got big Thomas McKaylee. I love Thomas McKaylee. Should have been in the Cowboys side for a lot longer than he was in the 2025 campaign. And I do agree with your comments on Sam McIntyre. He was a huge loss for the Cowboys last season. I think just the difference for me is I think Sam McIntyre can provide so much more, cover a lot more positions than John Bateman can. McIntyre can play lock. McIntyre can play in the centers. He could probably play prop too. I wouldn't be playing Bateman probably anywhere outside of 11. He could play 13, but I think his days at lock, unfortunately, John Bateman might be over. So I think he might be a second row specialist. And I like what McIntyre can bring. He also brings more, a bit more go forward for me. So that's why I've just got Bateman starting. But again, this is my own opinion. I've got Laybutt there in jersey 18. Look, unfortunately, with me having Purdue there, the reason Laybutt isn't over Chester is, from all reports from North Queensland, it is Tom Chester's center jersey. He is reportedly guaranteed one of these center spots for the 2026 season. He's been killing it at training. And look, I also wish him all the best with his body, because his body has failed him as well in the last few seasons. So look, I wish Chester all the best. I've got Harrison Edwards there on jersey 19. He's probably the man that comes in if Matt Lodge can't make the journey over to Vegas. He would be the man that comes in on the bench. And I've got young Caden Lars there in jersey 20. Hopefully he can learn from his, very, I'd say, look, he would have learnt a lot from his 2025 campaign. And look, he's the son of a great player in Tom Leroy Lars. So I think Caden will, eventually fill into those footsteps of his father. But look, like, would I be like, he could look Wiremu Greg? I didn't really touch on it, but Wiremu Greg, I don't think's that far off playing for North Queensland. I actually like Wiremu Greg. I liked what he did in Parramatta. Yes, he didn't really get much of an opportunity under Jason Riles, but under Brad Arthur, I thought in 2024, I thought Wiremu Greg was great for Parramatta. So if the Cowboys need some size, and Wiremu Greg's playing well, I just think that I've just put Caden Lars there because under Peyton, I think Peyton likes Caden Lars. So I've just got him there. But look, very similar teams, Sam, just a few changes. Look, yeah, I've heard the Purdue stuff in regards to him playing in the halves, but I think sanity has to prevail. And I think for the Cowboys to field the best 17 for round one, I think that is with Jackson Purdue playing in the centers and Clifford starting at 6. So that's my team. Any other comments, my friend, or are we happy to move on to the breakout players? Or nothing more. Sam loves it. All right. Speaking of breakout players and the man I just alluded to, training the house down, Thomas Chester. Sam is your breakout player for season 2026. The floor is yours, my friend.
Todd Payton once described Tom Chester as a pit bull on the paddock, and that's exactly what he is, mate. He is just a go-getter. Every time he has donned the Cowboys jersey on the paddock, he's always made a difference, scoring tries and just making some really nice plays as well. As I said previously, Tom Chester has an enormous opportunity to make the center role his own for the next few years until conversations will eventually arise around the fullback position. But for now, Tom Chester, he's a great player in waiting. We've seen glimpses of it. His body must remain healthy throughout. He can't afford really to miss more than 4 or 5 games in 2026. So, and if that does happen, he's going to be a very, very impressive player. Just got to see how he goes defensively. That's the only query that I've got about him. But other than that, I think he is a tremendous prospect. And yeah, I think Tom Chester can break out. But in saying that, I'll also say that, as I said before, someone is going to break out for the North Queensland Cowboys in the center position this year. You got Laybutt, you've got Vilea, you've got Ethan King now, you've got Chester. There's a plethora of players up there that have not locked down a center position. And every team needs a star center. And right now, the Cowboys don't have one. Tom Chester has an enormous opportunity to be the star centre for the North Queensland Cowboys if he can remain healthy and hit the ground running in 2026. And I believe that he can. I really like Tom Chester as a player, and I think he's going to kick some ass in 2026.
He's only 24 years of age, Sam, and all those players that you've listed are young men. Like they're all, fighting to get that jersey, but they're all very young in regards to their age. So they could lock down a potential starting jersey for an NRL team in the Cowboys for many years to come. There hasn't really been, no disrespect, but look, outside of this whole Purgy thing, he would be the one that I'd say has locked down a starting center jersey for many years to come. But outside of him, no, all the other candidates really haven't locked it down. There hasn't been a real outstanding performance. Like we saw that last season, there was a few center combinations trialed throughout. So yeah, massive year, positions up for grabs. And we would really like to see another center really, take it and own, the center jersey like Val Holmes did when he was up in North Queensland. Since then, it's basically up for grabs. But look, Chester's great. It's just his body, Sam. It's just his body. If you look at the numbers, he's only played 12 first grade games after making his debut in season 2022. So look, that's if he can string together. If you look at his last two campaigns and like 93 average run meters, that's pretty good for a center. So if he can do that, he can score the tries. He's got a bit of toe about him as well. So yeah, I think that look, his tackle efficiency is not the worst either. But we just need to see Chester get a full NRL season. And look, our thoughts are very similar. They're both from players who have suffered terribly with injury, but my breakout player, yes, he's sort of already come onto the scene, but I think that this year God has got to give him some good faith. And this is the year that we see Hylam Lukey absolutely break out because he has shown so much throughout these past. Well, he didn't play at all in season 2025, but from what I've seen from him in what he's played, well, probably like 50 games, a bit less maybe. He's been a bit more than 50 games, but he's been outstanding. A real, the Cowboys went about their business when, Lukey came on to the scene and, with those good years that we were just looking at there, the 22, 23, 24, and, they didn't want to lose this young man, and you can see why, because he signed up until 2029 on a pretty good deal, I think, on $650K a season for Hylam Lukey. Look, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, but obviously the 2025 campaign, Lukey didn't play at all due to that injury. So, look, I'm looking forward to a really fruitful campaign. Everything is there for Hylam Lukey to be one of the great second rowers in the NRL competition. Look, he's not as good as in the air as Jeremiah Nanai, but I'd argue his ball running is a lot better than Nanai's. His size as well. He is a very tall man, Hylam Lukey is. He's been in North Queensland since he was 15 in the Cowboys Academy, Sam. So I think there's everything there for him. Look, his tackle efficiency is outstanding. He's not missing many tackles. And look, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because there is a world that I'm seeing if I'm looking at the Cowboys and say round 7, round 8, once Nanai is back in. I'm seeing a world where Lukey and Nanai are starting. You've got like McIntyre and Bateman on the bench. And I actually think that there could be a chance that Bateman either doesn't play second row and he might be moved to lock, where I said I didn't think that there was a realm, but there could be a realm where Bateman gets moved to lock and you've got McIntyre there. I don't know. I think Lukey's got to be on the park. Look, he's going to be eased into it. I don't think he's going out there to play in round 1 of Vegas that he's going out there to play 80 minutes straight off the bat. I think he'll play like 50 minutes or something like that, and McIntyre will probably come on with how I've got my team, or Bateman for you, Sam, will come on and give Lukey a spell for a bit. Depending how Peyton wants to utilize those minutes will be interesting. Might have like 30 minutes on, then have a break, and then come back on for the last 20 minutes of the game. But most of the time with injuries like that, ACLs and whatnot, they normally just play them straight and then bring them off, and they don't bring them back on after that. So, look, I really like Lukey. I think he should be I don't see him as like an 80-minute player, but he's definitely should be playing like 60 minutes a week at the very minimum. I think he is a quality player. You look at his tackle efficiency through his first 4 seasons in the NRL has been outstanding. His run meters were getting better. I'll put something down. I think Lukey will average, if he can stay fit and healthy, he'll average 100 run meters plus in season 2026. I'm expecting a lot from this young man, but I think if he can get to 100 meters plus, keep that same tackle efficiency, I think that is when we can really say, look, he's actually, with the depth of second rowers for Queensland at the moment, I would not put it past him to be playing if he starts the season really strongly. I would not put it out of this world that Hylam Lukey is in the State of Origin squad for a game this season, whether it be game 1 or game 3, or definitely in and around that conversation for a jersey. And then definitely in the squad in 2027. All this man needs to do is to really break out, is to just keep himself on the park. But he's looking in great shape, Sam, as my photo from a recent Cowboys session looks like. He's looking in great shape. Great to see him with a smile on his face as well.
Dor, man, is he a part of your fantasy calculations? Or where do you see Hylam Lukey in your fantasy for Supercoach?
I had Hylam Lukey in 2024 in my fantasy team. He was really good, but it's just that the minutes are a problem for the price point with Lukey fantasy wise. It's he's always shown a great promise, Lukey, when it comes to fantasy, but it's like, you need to be playing the minutes. And I think at the start of this season, it'd be definitely an interesting watch. I don't think I'd recommend anyone to bring him in straight away, but say come around like a bit later on the season, once we start to see what his minutes and whatnot are like, if the price point suggests it, I think you could definitely do it. Like he's got the fantasy friendly game. He's a good tackler. He can do the offloads. He can break tackles. He can score tries. That's all you want. He can provide an offload. So yeah, he's got the fantasy friendly game. I wouldn't start with him in 2026, but definitely if we're seeing like 60 plus minutes from Lukey, because there was a stint in 24, we were seeing probably about like 50 minutes, I think, from him. So I think it's just due to his crap luck with injuries. We just need to see him make his way. I think like halfway through the year, the back end, he could be an interesting buy to make some cash come before finals time, Sam. But otherwise, yeah, I'm really high on Hylam Lukey, and I wish both of these men a great 2026 campaign of health. But let's get straight to it, Sam. Actually, there is a slide here. I just want to get your quick thoughts. There isn't a slide, but I want to bring up now. I will make a slide when I post all these slides, but just quickly, you alluded to it before, the feeder club, having the Blackhawks back in the system now with having the 3 feeder clubs. And, you were obviously, when you were saying what you were saying before, you weren't happy with the fact that the Townsville Blackhawks were the feeder club of South Sydney with that fallout of the Blackhawks and the Cowboys. But now to see them back together for this 2026 campaign, I just wanted to get a bit of your thoughts in regards to that.
Yes. Well, by the looks of things, The Northern Pride and the Mackay Cutters seemingly have signed up the exact same players as that was on the books last year. I haven't quite looked into Townsville Blackhawks yet. I believe that they're doing pretty much the same. So the Townsville Blackhawks finished second in the Queensland Cup. Unfortunately, both the Cutters and the Pride finished down in the bottom four. So there is a bit of work there to do for feeder clubs for the North Queensland Cowboys there. But yeah, to have the Townsville Blackhawks be part of it, like there were so many locals that I have the fortune of speaking to and watching some of their stuff and reading some of their stuff. That they were so bitterly disappointed about how it all transpired. And yes, it was a bit of a falling out between the owner of the Townsville Blackhawks and I guess Jeff Ribel at the time. Oh, by the way, Cowboys have still yet to announce their new CEO. Jeff Ribel retired. We're still waiting to find out who the hell's going to be our CEO. I reckon we might find that out in about a fortnight's time when the Cowboys have their annual live stream for their 2026 season launch. So that's just another little tidbit there that is outstanding. But no, what is outstanding though is that Townsville Blackhawks are back affiliated with Townsville. It just makes sense. Just makes things a lot more smoother, mate. So yeah, no, it's good, and it just gives us more options with 3 feeder clubs again.
Beautifully said, Sam. Thank you very much for answering that. All right, the jerseys. You spoke about, I guess, well, firstly, the home, away, and alternative strip. Basically, the only thing that's really changed is just the old logo, as you see on both the banner and on the templates, is back. The anniversary is obviously was last season in 2025, so that's gone. The old logo's back. And look, speaking of logo with stars, the Cowboys, like you said, Sam, the Dallas Cowboys, and they've sort of leaned into that a little bit with this 2026 jersey for the Vegas campaign. So we've touched on what Newcastle haven't really released a Vegas jersey as of yet.
Negative.
We've seen the Fire and Ice that we absolutely both loved from the St. George Dragons, and then now this is our third team, if I'm not wrong, in regards to Vegas. I really like this jersey, but it's not perfect like the Fire and Ice Dragons jersey for me. I would prefer the logo like this. I don't like the star coming out through the top of the near the logo. Where's my cursor? So like over here where there's where the Cowboys actual logo is, this V shaped here of the star, which is obviously coming through from here. I don't like that. I would prefer that not be there at all. And potentially this Cowboys logo here to be moved slightly across, maybe decreased in size a little bit. But it's a really clean jersey. I love the whole the photo shoot that they've done with like the Cowboys themed NFL helmet. You've obviously got the Vegas ball there. I think it is a really clean strip that I think that all Cowboys fans should enjoy. Do I think it's the best Vegas jersey? No, I think the Fire and Ice from the Dragons is the best Vegas jersey, but this one is a good jersey. I like it. I really like the color scheme, the dark blue and like the whitey gray color. I love the sponsor integration as well from Toyota, buying into that dark blue. Same with Yeti and the other sponsors on the side of the jersey. I think it's a really clean jersey, just a few little minor changes that I would change, but overall it's a great jersey, Sam.
I disagree. I have battled myself big time over how I feel about this, and yeah, I am not a fan of it. The star coming down near the logo, that bottom corner, could have done without. What's coming up from the bottom of the jersey, I want you to look at this, Dor. I already own a shirt that I bought back in 2019, right? Does that look at all familiar to you, the design? So that's
Yeah.
the top of the shirt. It's a very, very similar design. It's a very, very similar design. For me, man, what I personally would have done, I would have scrapped the large logos. I would have incorporated more of a few silver or gray lines, like very thin gray lines, maybe coming across the top, like this, or maybe something sexy like a crossfade or something like that. But what they've done here, I like the blue collar, I like the white, but the bit of stuff in and around it, I just don't. I don't vibe with it, honestly, man. But it might look 10 times better on the paddock, but for me, man, unfortunately, this is a swing and a miss, mate. But I don't even know if I'm in the minority or in the majority, really. I think it's really split down the middle. I know that the Dragons is preferred. The Bulldogs with the names, now we haven't done a Bulldogs podcast yet, but the Bulldogs have released a jersey and they've got the names on the backs, and that's already an automatic win to
to
the majority of the population. So with this one, unfortunately, if the Knights don't do something, and it looks like that the Knights aren't going to do a Vegas jersey at this rate, that this is the worst Vegas jersey of 2026. Yeah, no, I would have preferred it to
little stars or something, Sam. Like even just like smaller like stars all around, the middle of the jersey here. Keep the Toyota logo and then have like blue stars or whatever, like in and around, like multiple of them. I think would look much cooler, because I like the base of the jersey, just the white, the dark blue collar. I would have liked to have seen the shorts incorporated too, like keep that white color, I reckon, in the shorts with a bit of the dark blue as well. I reckon would have looked absolutely sick. Like I reckon
white would have been nice. No,
yeah, like just that same sort of grey white color with the dark blue as well. Something like that would have been really cool, I reckon. But look, it's, in my opinion, it's a pretty cool jersey. It's just not an amazing, like outstanding one. It's like, it could have been, but it's like, it's basically the question, like, what could have been?
The glow in the dark jerseys. The glow in the dark jerseys they used last year. Like, that's what I was hoping for. Anyway.
I like the glow in the dark jerseys, but I think this is a good concept. It's just that missed the execution with the design, but great for once to actually see some good sponsor integration as well. So great from those sponsors to come on board, and at least it makes it look a lot better than it would if there's other colors going on there, like a red Toyota logo or, like a green Yeti symbol or something like that. So yeah, don't mind it at all. All right. Now to the last point of the podcast, our ladder predictions. I'll go first because I think it's fitting that you finish off with it being, before I say all the thank yous and whatnot. I think it's fitting that you finish off your own podcast. For me, I'm just going to go straight to the point. 14th to 17th for me. I think it's going to be another challenging year up north, unfortunately, for you guys. I don't really need to go into much depth because it's already been discussed heavily throughout this podcast. Point one, the coach, is my first point of call. I could go on an hour rant of how I could say that Todd Payton should not be the coach of the Cowboys at the moment. He is on life support at the moment. If the Cowboys, with this friendly draw that we discussed about, don't start well, yes, it's obviously travel. There is a bit of travel in that first 2 weeks, but in that first 7 rounds, they only verse the Roosters and the Broncos in regards to top or finals teams. The Cowboys should at least if they're like 50-50 like they were in 25, I think he's surviving. But I don't know. Since I went and saw the Cowboys, yes, Sam hates me when I keep bringing this up, but when I went and saw them in that campaign against Parramatta a few seasons ago, that was the last year where they actually defended. The last 2 seasons since then, I think it's 2, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, 3. The last 3 seasons has been, again, pardon my French, has been shithouse from the Cowboys. There has been no close to resilience defensively at all. Yes, they've done a change up, and the reason they've done this change up is this is the last roll of the dice for the Cowboys when it comes to defense and whatnot. If it's not fixed and the Cowboys are conceding big score lines, Todd Payton will be gone, and there's a high chance that Willie Peters could be given the phone call and be on his way back to Australia. But that's the first point of reasoning. The other one is I'm worried about this whole Jackson Purdue experiment with this halves thing and what they're going to do in regards to that. If they try to pan this out for a long period of time, I think that could really backfire if it's not working. I hope with the whole off season, if they do go with how Sam has listed, that they do figure it out and that Purdue and Dearden are moving nicely. I think, without me going into a huge rant, I think that you could see that Purdue's passing and facilitating game was definitely not up to being an NRL halves part or halves player. You could see multiple opportunities. I'm not saying that he's not capable of this. It's just that from what I saw last season, his passing game, trying to make a cutout pass, he threw it into row 2 in the stands, or it might just be a simple, face ball or something like that was not being executed properly. The kid's a great player. He's an absolute talent. You could see it when he gets the ball in his hand. He's absolutely dynamic. He's got great speed, deception. I just don't know if it's ready for the halves. And the other reason why I'm saying will it pan out is because Jackson Purdue is still unsigned for beyond this season. And the Cowboys, I feel, are in a situation where it's like, they trying to do what the player wants in Jackson Purdue and play him in the halves. But is that the best decision for the club? I'm not wholeheartedly sure if that is the best decision for the Cowboys. Other than that,
no player is bigger than a club. No one.
No. And that I'm just worried about that. Other than that, like the draw's really good for them, which, they're definitely not wooden spooners. I'm sorry, Titans fans. That was definitely you in that aspect. But it's just, I'm just really concerned. Like, there's definitely a lot of star talent. I'm just worried, especially, they've got that good 7-round start to the season with only 2 top 8 sides. But again, it's only from last season. We don't know what's going to happen for the teams this year. But it's rough and it's tough. But I've got to I'm concerned about North Queensland. And, if you think about it, if they get rid of Payton, then, you can basically probably, my thing is Payton should have gone, because I thought that they could have got, someone else in and injected new life into the club with a new coach and go about rebuilding in this off season and building towards something in the future under a new coach. But I think it's every public knowledge. You didn't really need to hear that from me, that Payton now, with like the O'Brien sack or O'Brien departure and whatnot, he's the coach under the most pressure in season 2026. And like I said before, it's close. Like you think Nanai's not back till round 4 and 16, not back till potentially round 2 and 3. They're 2 players that are definitely in the starting list. And I think the Cowboys season is going to be run or won in the first 7. When I say run or won, I mean like if they're going to be like Sam say a 9 or 13 team, or potentially pushing towards a top 8 side like Sam's talking about or going to talk about, or it's going to be the Cowboys have not got off to a good start. Peyton's basically out the door. Purdue's been in the halves. It hasn't worked out. I hope I'm all wrong, but those are the things that are just staring at me right at the face. And the defense, I can talk, I know Sam obviously very well. I can speak on volume. The amount of times that I've spoken to Sam and the seething nature that comes from my good friend about the Cowboys defense on a week-to-week basis. Please, Cowboys, do not let my friend suffer again with dog shit defense. Pardon my French. The defense needs to improve. If they can get that defense back to like they did when they knocked off my Broncos in the grand final, they get that defense back. And like that campaign that unfortunately, yes, ended to the hands of Parramatta in North Queensland. They get that defense back, Sam. They've got the attack. But I'm very worried about the whole culture, coaching situation with the defense and whatnot. So for me, unfortunately, I think they're probably at the top end of that 14 to 17 due to their attack. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just where I've got to put them, mate. So the floor is yours to send us out with your ladder prediction, and then let me know when you're done, and I'll finish off the podcast. The floor is yours, my friend.
Who's got another 2 hours in them? By the way, that's the third time that you've mentioned that Parramatta prelim, mate. That's it. You're cut off from mentioning that for the rest of the podcast.
I was a Cowboys fan for that game, bro. The Broncos weren't in contention. I was a Cowboys fan at that game, bro. I was wanting the Cowboys to win. So let that be known that I was a Cowboys fan. Even though you're my arch rival team, I was a Cowboys fan that game. I was upset for your mob in that game. But anyway, take it away.
Where do I begin? It's been a very extreme up and down roller coaster with Todd Payten since he's come in. The very first press conference he ever had was lambasting legend Jason Taumalolo and graphically detailing that his minutes would be cut in half. Since then, we saw the best Cowboys season in history, minus 2015 in 2022. And for some reason, the boys have just not been able to replicate it. And the longer that the years have gone by, the less desire it looks like that they want to play that sort of style for Coach Todd Payten. So the culture might be the wrong word up there, but the atmosphere, the environment up there from the outside looking in looks like it's on a razor thin knife's edge. There are still so many star players in this side, however, that I think of the 2020s, we are just a bit over halfway through this decade of the 2020s. And I think that the Cowboys, unfortunately, at this stage are front runners for the most disappointing team in the NRL based on how much talent they have up there in the club, or had. You know, we've mentioned Val Holmes a couple of times, right? But there is still the likes of a Dearden and a Cotter and a Scott Drinkwater. So what's happened as well is that they've missed finals, they've gotten into finals. They've missed finals, they've gotten in, and they're due to, if the rate keeps on going as it is, it's due to for the Cowboys to fall in back into the finals, right? So how are they going to fall back into the finals? Well, someone would say that Scott Drinkwater had a bit of an off year last year, and in comparison to his lofty standards over the past few years, he had a bit of a dip in form. But guess what, though? Looking at the stats here, Scott Drinkwater was still number 2 in all of the NRL for try assists. Reece Walsh had 26 try assists in 2025. Scott Drinkwater had 24 try assists in 2025. He is still so lethal. And the best, most underrated, most underappreciated part about him is not the stuff that's on the paddock to a degree. It's the stuff that's off the paddock. Have you ever heard any sort of drama about Scott Drinkwater? He is one of the most level-headed professional players in the NRL at the moment. He's got a young family as well. He's part of the leadership group, and he's just been getting more mature and more mature every single year. I do want, we all need to see Drinkwater just get stuck in defensively a little bit more. However, that is his Achilles heel at the moment. But everything else is right there. And I'm going to say it for the third or fourth year in a row now. This is Scott Drinkwater has an opportunity to win a Dally M medal one day. Tom Dearden might take some points off of him, sure. But Scott Drinkwater has, over the past 4 years, finished inside the top 10 in the Dally M voting system. He's getting let down by his own defense, and he's getting let down just by the men around him defensively. We know how much of an attacking juggernaut the North Queensland Cowboys can be. But with this Jackson Purdue injection of him going into the halves when it is so clear to me that he should remain in the centres is concerning, because the kicking game for us is about 3 cogs below when Jake Clifford is not there. So let me put it like this. Scott Drinkwater is kicking and he can get them high up, right? Tom Dearden, if there's one constructive piece of criticism I've got for him to execute in 2026 is his kicking game. If he is going to be the halfback, he needs to develop that kicking game big time in 2026. He needs to explode in that aspect of his game. Jackson Purdue, I'm sure he can get the ball up. I can recall maybe a time or two where he did get put to ball last year, but he's not a noted kicker yet. We really don't know how he goes with the kicking. Reed Marnie is a much better kicker than Reece Robson. Reece Robson tried, but couldn't. Reed Marnie is going to be that X factor for us, but we can't rely upon Reed Marnie in that kicking game. So Tom Dearden and Jackson Purdue, they've really got to get this kicking game rocking and rolling, because we can't just rely on Reed Marnie trying for a 40-20 every second set of 6 that the boys have. And Scott Drinkwater, for as good as of a kicking game as he does possess, he's the fullback. Just stay out of it unless if we desperately need you to come in. The start to our season begins in Vegas against a Newcastle Knights side that is going to have the unpredictability factor on their side, with Dylan Brown and Sandon Smith, Kalen Ponga coming back in, Holbrook as the new coach. I don't think there is a team in the NRL going into round 1 of 2026 that has more pressure on them than the North Queensland Cowboys. The Cowboys need to win, not just for themselves, but for coach Todd Payton, because if they go to Las Vegas and lose, they then have a round 2 matchup against the West Tigers at Leichhardt Oval on a Saturday afternoon. The Tigers have the round 1 bye. So the Tigers play their first game of 2026 against the Cowboys, who have already just traveled to Las Vegas and back. That is a terrifying prospect, and that will not be a gimme, despite the Cowboys winning a game at Leichhardt last year. And then you do have the Melbourne Storm on the horizon. You do have the Gold Coast Titans there as well. Admittedly, we're not thinking too many good things about the Titans, but hey, the Titans have been able to get a couple of wins against us over the past few years. And then you get to round 5 and 6 where, well, the Cowboys are traveling down to Cogra to take on the Dragons, and the Dragons could be anything. They were in most games last year, weren't they? And then it's the big Friday night blockbuster against the Brisbane Broncos. My point in talking about these first 6 rounds is, well, you were talking about Coach Todd Payton and how long he might have. There is a world based off of the defensive form that we saw that the Cowboys display last year. There is a really unfortunate chance that the Cowboys go 0-2, and then they've got a game against the Gold Coast Titans. And what happens if they lose that one? Then they've got the Melbourne Storm the week after. The Cowboys, I've been saying it, not just me, everyone, Cowboys fan or not, the Cowboys fix their defense They are a top 8 prospect. They are a top 8 threat. I'm not going to say premiership contender because I've been bitten in the ass by them for 3 years. I know they made the finals in 2024, but the defense was still a huge worry that year that they finished 5th and beat the Newcastle Knights in that elimination final, right? I've been talking rugby league online since 2021. Ironically enough, the same year that Todd Payton was hired to be the Cowboys coach. I have not once ever said the Cowboys can't make the 8 this year. This is the first time that I just can't put them in the top 8 because I've been bitten by them one too many times now. The top 8 last year was stacked, and there is so much more improvement in the teams that missed out on the top 8. It's going to be even tougher to try and crack it. And I look at the Dolphins and I think that they can, but who is going to miss out? Well, we'll get to that podcast over the next week or two. This Cowboys side still mucking around with their halves, still mucking around with their centers. And we've just got a couple of injuries in Nene and Neem to start off the year. Even though the draw is good, I look at that run to the finals and we've got Dolphins, Broncos, Roosters 3 weeks in a row. That scares the shit out of me, man. And then those final 2 home games of the year against the Tigers and the Raiders, could be anything. We don't know. But it could be friggin' anything. The Tigers could be fighting for a shot in the top 8. Same with the Canberra Raiders. I just think it'll be... I want to see another year of Laybutt and Chestel, whoever's going to dominate that center spot. That's the concern. The attacking weapons at center are not proven. Purdue is proven, but unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be the half in 2026. And just going back to the kicking game, I'm just starting to yo-yo a little bit. I apologize, but Jake Clifford. It's why I want him in our team, because Jake Clifford can put up a Matt Burton bomb, man. He's got that kicking game on him, and it's just we know how deadly and how important it can be to a team. And Purdue and Dearden, they don't offer that. They don't offer an enormous bomb like that. So Jake Clifford having that kicking game in would be good. As far as other players that I'd like to see improve and stand up overall, I know it's a bit unfair, but Jeremiah Nene is on just about tick under $1 million a year. And I've got to say that Jeremiah Nene has not produced to that pay packet just yet. He hasn't. Yes, it's a combination of suspension and injury. And he's still a very young fella. I think he's still only 24, 25 years old, barely even. But did you see the friggin' form that he had in the Pacific Championships? Jeremiah Nene, can you try, and I know you want to, but can you try and replicate that throughout season 2026 when you return, man? And I'm not saying that Nene had a bad year last year. I'm not saying that. I remember his game against the Warriors last year at Magic Round. But Nene, we've got to see more from. We really do. Ruben Cotter, he is an automatic lock, right? But Ruben Cotter, for me, I think he didn't take a backward step, but I don't think he moved forward either. I just think maybe he just got a little bit gassed throughout 2025. I don't think he played his best footy, but then again, he's been going 110% for about 3 years now. Maybe he was due a bit of an off year. So hopefully we can see him bounce back, because his performances for the Kangaroos in the Ashes series was very good, like very good, actually, back to formula sort of stuff. So yeah, Jason Taumalolo as well is going to be another controversial aspect. He is nearing on the brink of the end of his contract, his very controversial contract. And he is only 15 games away from being the first ever Cowboy to play 300 games exclusively for the club. And that match is due to fall when they take on the New Zealand Warriors over in Christchurch. And that is one of the highlights of the 2026 draw, where they will be with Warriors and Cowboys will play the first ever rugby league game at Christchurch's new One New Zealand Stadium. That is an enormous occasion, despite it happening a couple of days after State of Origin game number 2, if I'm not mistaken. So it might be an Origin affected game, but that is a highlight of the Cowboys season. Then you've got Magic Round as well, and Las Vegas. That Magic Round game is against the Sydney Roosters, which will be, I think, the second time that we've taken them. No, third time that we've taken them on as part of Magic Round. So I really believe that they can make the top 8. I do, but for the sake of transparency, I just can't put them in the top 8 because I think there are just a few more talented teams, a few more established teams than the North Queensland Cowboys. And until we see the defense just improve just even 10%, that's all that needs to happen. And you're going to be scaring a lot more teams than not throughout the year. We've got to see it, but we're all sick and tired of saying it. They know what the answer is. But I'm just, I can't put them in my top 8. But what I will say is that I'll put them at 9th. I've got them in 9 to 13, but I'll say I'm going to have the Cowboys at 9th. They do have a nice draw. They've got plenty of 7-day turnarounds, but they've got to do the damage to start the year. You said it. Their season will be made or broken after the first 7 or 8 weeks. And if North Queensland are 2-5 after the first 7 weeks, do you keep Todd Payton for the rest of the year, but you tell him it's not going to be extended, or do you cut Todd Payton immediately? I mean, Paul Wellens would then become the assistant coach, I would imagine, because he's got so much St. Helens experience. Interim coach. So he'd have an opportunity there. So I think that if the Cowboys are 2-5 or thereabouts, I do think you actually cut Todd Payton. You don't say, we're not going to extend you, but you can stay the rest of the year. Because that, if we think the atmosphere and environment now is a bit, frosty, well, it'd be even worse throughout the year, you'd imagine, keeping him there. So, yeah, I would be cutting Todd Payton if it is a bad start to season 2026. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a very, very tough year. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of different players. And I've got to try and keep a lid on it over the first month, like a season is not won or lost. I mean, look at the Brisbane Broncos last year, right? Like fair dinkum, month of May came and we thought, Jesus Christ, wooden spoon. Probably not wooden spoon, but you know what I mean? Just got to keep a lid on it. But patience is running thin with Todd Payton and the performances by these North Queensland Cowboys. So I love the club. I do think that they can make the 8. There's enough talent there, but I'm just worried about the kicking game that we may not have. And we just got to see the defense. And I'm sick and tired of saying it. So I'm going to have them at 9th because it is going to be a very, very tough year for teams to crack it into the top 8 and overrun the teams that were in the finals last year. Thank you very much, Dor.
No problems at all, Sam. No problems at all. Very fair. And it's like some really good points that you mentioned there as well. I was just, while you were talking, having a looking a few things. Like Nanai is 22 years old. So he's still very, very young.
That all? No.
He
debuted at 19 back in 2021.
That's what Google's saying. Is
he only 20?
Age 22.
Holy bejesus.
He's
Goodness
got ages of development left. But
young, man, but so talented.
Your points are correct though. Like he was so good in that for Samoa in that Pac champs, and Cowboys fans would have been like, we didn't see that as much in Cowboys colors. I will not go into it further than a few words, but ever since Todd Payton came to the North Queensland Cowboys, he single-handedly has ruined Jason Tamalolo with like, you look at the numbers here, like last year, he played 10 games. He has a 60 win percent. It's not single-handedly, but he's played a massive part because Tamalolo's body has also failed him very, very much so in a couple of these seasons as well. But it's not just a pay packet. Tamalolo is one of the greatest locks to ever play in the NRL. And I feel like even though while he's still a bit on in age, he's not being treated fairly by Coach Payton in regards to his minutes and whatnot. I think it's definitely eased up the tension or the issues, and he has played when he's fit. In like last year, for example, I think he's played a bit more than he has in previous years. But I'd be surprised if Payton is to lose his job, like, and Wellens or whatever is the interim coach. I'd be interested to see how many minutes Wellens plays in, because I still think Tamalolo is a quality footballer. Is he deserving of that pay packet? Well, look, you can obviously, I don't need to tell you what is actually happening or what you think of that. Everyone can connect the dots to that one. But look, if he's playing the minutes that he deserves, I think he is much closer to that pay packet than what he is currently. Like, he's playing like 30 minutes or 40 minutes a game. And he's doing a hell of a lot in those minutes. I know that his body hasn't been great, but to me, it's just, I think he needs there's something there with Todd Payton, like you alluded to, ever since he's come there. It just hasn't gone well with Payton and Tamalolo. Payton keeps on actively coming out and saying that there's nothing wrong, but we're not dumb, Todd. There's definitely something wrong. So anyway, well, yes, that is a long one, an absolute doozy of a podcast. If you're still here or you've watched the full 2 hours and 20 minutes plus, I thank you very much for your support. But look, it's Sam's very passionate about his Cowboys, and look, I could probably do a 2 hour and 20-minute podcast on the Broncos as well if my team didn't win the sorry to rub it in to win the premiership. But there's not as much moving parts, and it's like we've said in the Broncos podcast that we expect them to do well. And we're not saying with these predictions that we don't expect the Cowboys to do well in season 2026. But I think what Sam said and alluded to, I think it's going to be a tough campaign and also a tough and learning and challenging one for the Cowboys in season 2026. Yes, they're capable of potentially, slipping in to the finals, like Sam said. But it's also going to be a very testing one, considering the pressure that is on Coach Todd Payton, because we all know how passionate, aka Sam, and all you North Queensland fans are with your football team. And, the passion for rugby league, it's the main sport up in North Queensland. Everything revolves around with how the Cowboys are going and playing. So, there's utmost pressure on Todd Payton. And like we alluded to, if it doesn't start well, I don't see it. Todd Payton staying as coach for the North Queensland Cowboys, but hopefully I'm definitely horribly wrong and Sam's slightly wrong and the Cowboys make the top 8. They drastically, if they improve their defense, they're definitely in a 9-13 to potentially top 8. I'm just worried about the defense not improving, so that's why I've definitely got them there. But if they improve the defense, we know what they can do in attack, Sam. So thank you so much, Sam, and thank you everyone for listening. As I always do, make sure you subscribe to Wobble and Jaw Sports and the All Out Club on YouTube and Spotify for the All Out Club, Wobble and Jaw, just on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like it, give us a comment.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dor.
Let us know what no problems at all, Sam. Let us know your thoughts, what you're thinking for the Cowboys in season 2026. Sam and I will do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. You can leave that comment on the Instagram post that we put up for the podcast, or on YouTube or Spotify itself. But yeah, thank you so much. Give us a like as well on social media. You can see the NRL, All Out NRL fantasy logo there. You can go and see it all there, the one-stop shop for NRL, even though there is fantasy in it. We might be moving just to All Out NRL, but that could be something to come in years, or probably I'd say it could happen this year, but we'll see what happens, because we're much more than just a fantasy page. Yes, we are very good at fantasy and super coach, but if you just go under All Out NRL, they all know that we do that sort of stuff anyway. So thank you so much. Thank you, North Queensland. I love North Queensland. If my favorite holiday destination, if I'm going on a holiday, is North Queensland. So I do love it up there. Yes, you are my arch rivals, but I do wish you guys absolutely all the best in season 2026. I hope I'm horribly wrong, and we will see you in the next one. Your club could be next. It is a surprise. No spoilers once again. So we'll see you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. See ya.